Return of the Bird Tribes, Chapter 10. We establish the Confederacy. What happened next was remarkable in the midst of such a gathering of hunters and warriors. Some later said it was a miracle. However, to those of us who witnessed it firsthand, it did not seem unnatural. In fact, so natural did it seem, and so much in the flow of Hiawatha's speech, that our distraction was only momentary. Hiawatha was speaking of the Great Spirit's life flowing not only through human beings, but also through the winged and the four-footed. Even as he named them, a large, snowy owl landed ghost-like in the lower branches of a tree immediately behind us, and 2 does, followed by a less adventuresome buck, came ambling among the seated people, at times cautiously stepping over those who were in their way. Hiawatha pointed to the deer and to the owl. To peace with them also do we commit our living, he said, taking life only when it is necessary to feed our people, giving thanks to the spirit of the animal whose form we eat, giving thanks to the Great One, who appears as all these forms, within all these forms, in every tree, in every flower, in every herb-bearing seed, in every animal, in every stream, in every living being thing. The Great One is here with us today in these deliberations, as that Great One has both inspired and witnessed this ceremony. May he also inspire all our activities henceforth, everything we do, everything we say, as he has witnessed them from the beginning. May our lives and the lives of our respective tribes be dedicated to the spreading of this peace to the distant and far-flung peoples of the forests and plains. This is the finest way to honor our mother, the earth. We are the people who remain true. Let it always be so. Almost imperceptibly, as Hiawatha spoke, twilight grew in the forest around us. One by one lights appeared. A host of tiny fires gradually filled the basin of the new tree and danced across the nearby hills as people gathered near them for warmth. The full moon had not yet risen, but above us, as if reflecting our many little fires, stars one by one began appearing across the sky. A larger fire was built in front of the mound of the newly planted tree. Upon this mound, next to the tree of the great long leaves, Hiawatha stood. As the smoke from many family fires rises tonight and spreads across above the forest, let us remember, he reminded the Iroquois, that this smoke comes from many fires, and no one fire is better than another. The one fire may burn brighter and another more faintly. Who is to say which is wiser? You know as well as I that there are times and seasons for both. Remember always that the truth springs from many hearts and takes many outer forms, no two ever the same. One in the Great Spirit, we shall have no one leader, nor one ruling family, nor a class of ruling shamans. For such traditions are warrior traditions, and not the traditions of the Ongwi Hongwi. Let such customs be buried with our weapons. Let them lie forgotten beside the tree that is no more. Under the tree of the great long leaves, the new tree flowering in our hearts, there is but one leader, but one chief, Wankantonka, the Creator, the Eternal One, who shines in the light of every star and burns in the fire of the sun. Know, my people, that one lives in you. Do not diminish the sunlight by giving your power away to another. From this day forward, let all Iroquois-speaking people recognize that hierarchy makes sterile soil in which the tree of peace withers and soon dies. Wherever you have the entrenched leadership of one man or a small ruling elite, you have a society structured according to the ways of violence. Such a society is camped under the very branches of the tree of war. Violence is the root of hierarchical society. Such societies will never know peace. Their people will always be restless at war, if not with others, then within themselves. There is no hierarchy in God's sight. Such foolishness is unknown among the healthy tribes. Let no man be a leader for a lifetime, for I say unto you, if any man has been a leader too long, he has clearly failed. The leader that wields the power and the magic of the Great One is leader only for a particular purpose, a particular moment, leader only for a season or a project or a journey. Not one of the geese I hear passing above is so foolish as to try to fly forever before the flock. His wings would quickly tire, and he would surely fall. A spirit of such disorder would have nowhere to look for followers, except perhaps in the nether regions here, said Hiawatha, stamping his foot on the mound, where these weapons and their ways are better forgotten. Let none of you think of yourselves as pupils, disciples, or students, either of myself or Daganweda, for one who thinks of himself as a student never becomes greater than his master, and one who thinks of herself as a follower shall never excel her leader. Every one of you is capable of accomplishing all that we have accomplished here, and considerably more. What we have brought about during these last 5 years is but a small thing compared to what you will accomplish in the times to come. Look not to us to guide your feet on the path of peace, but look within yourselves and know the Great Spirit that is the source of our path, the source of our words, and the origin of the deepest peace. Let His Spirit guide you. You will never go astray. Though it may be fitting for a time, for a season, that the two of us are an inspiration to you, understand that in another season you will be inspiration to others, and they in turn to others, and others still. And as the smoke from our many individual fires rises to heaven tonight, and becomes one smoke flowing out from the tree of the great long leaves that we have planted here, may these thoughts that lie at the roots of peace spread out to all the nations and peoples of the world. Let the roots of this tree grow and spread out beneath this forest floor. I see them, Hiawatha said, pointing to the ground in front of him, growing even now great white roots of peace. Many saw in that moment the tree grow a hand's breadth or more. Beneath the firelight, others saw an inner eye, 4 great white roots growing deep into the forest floor, spreading underground to the 4 directions, reaching into the subterranean currents that rule human passions. To many in those moments, the great white roots of peace became tangible and real. Above our thoughts and ideas spread like smoke into the stars. As Hiawatha sat down to rest at the foot of the newly planted tree, I stood. Behind us, a majestic orange moon was slowly rising, half revealed now above the naked trees. I spoke more slowly. I was conscious that each word I said was being repeated, quietly, whispered from ear to ear. I could hear the repetitions almost like an echo or a gentle breeze rustling through the forest. I asked that 1 arrow be given to Hiawatha from each of the 5 assembled nations. All present could see the arrows, one by one, brought to the top of the mound and ceremoniously placed in Hiawatha's outstretched hand. "Today," I said, pausing for the echo to take it to the farthest trees, "we have combined our individual power into one great power, the power of this Confederacy. We symbolize this Confederacy by joining together into a single bundle these 5 arrows, 1 from each of our nations, at the base of the tree of peace. Hiawatha is binding the arrows with deer sinew, which is strong and durable. So shall our commitment to the great peace be strong, binding, and durable. So shall these truths that we have celebrated on this occasion bind every one of us here into a single being, that we might henceforth act together in unison for the benefit of all. If but 1 arrow is removed from this bundle, it loses much of its strength. If 2 arrows are taken away, the power of the Confederacy would be greatly weakened. If 3 arrows are removed, anyone could take hold of the bundle and snap it easily in 2. Alone, these arrows have little strength. Even a child could break them. But bound tightly together in a single bundle, they are strong enough to withstand whatever might come against them. Let the 5-nation league face the future together. Let us think with one mind the thoughts of our Creator and always seek to peacefully resolve difficulties, both within our league and without. Let us feel as one, with one heart, the compassion of the Great Spirit, and strive always to avoid bloodshed. Should any one of us face evil from without, let us all turn and face that evil together, acting in unison with the strength of a single body. From this we shall derive great power, for from this day forward we shall stand or fall, united as a single nation. We will leave this bundle of arrows beneath the tree of the great long leaves to remind us always of our union." Stepping down from the mound, I invited all those who could to stand and form with me and Hiawatha a circle around the tree of peace. By firmly holding to one another's shoulders, I said, "We form a circle so strong that none could break through it. Let us live our lives in this circle of commitment to the great peace. Let there always be friendship, honesty, and brotherhood between us. Let our children and our grandchildren grow up and live their lives in this circle of peace and security. Let nothing break or shake our commitment to the principles we have recognized through this sacred union. Always remember that each one of us in this circle is of equal standing and of equal power. With friendship and communication, with patience and understanding, there is nothing that we cannot, in time, agree upon. Do not let the white panther of discord come leaping and snarling in our agreement. For those who are quarrelsome and who repeatedly stir up trouble will be driven from the league like dead leaves driven from a tree in windstorm, and those who are expelled from the Five-Nation League will not be invited to return. But my brothers, I said, my sisters of the forest, let us hope we will have no need for such measures. For the Great Spirit has provided us with all we need to recover our senses should ever we fall into the confusion of blinded passion. Should any one of you ever feel angry or confused, resentful or afraid, climb to the top of the highest tree that you can find and look toward the Maker of this world for your relief. Call to the spirit tribes and wait for the answer to come. Let the thickness of your skin be as thick as the bark of a great tree, so that the barbs and taunts of others do not alter your balance or affect your center. Do not disgrace yourself by being known as one who is quick to anger, but let patience, tolerance, and thoughtful wisdom characterize your life. Still, do not think badly of yourself if you do become angry or confused. Maybe it is only Gaha's way of telling you it has been too long since you climbed a tree. These passions are something that we all must face in the course of a walk upon the earth. But remember, we face nothing alone anymore, for this circle has joined us forever. You shall have no trouble that is not also my trouble, nor any joy that is not also my own. I say this from my heart, and there are 1,000 others with us here tonight who in their hearts say the same thing. If 1,000 say this to you tonight, how many more will say it to you in the years to come? Remember that help is always at hand. You have friends in the higher worlds who will come whenever you call, and you have friends in this world that will do the same. From the highest tree, call out to the truth of your spirit, and know that always, always, friends will come. Then, amidst a rousing chorus of agreement, the circle disbanded, and I resumed my place beside Hiawatha on the top of the mound. If any man or any nation, I continued, shall desire peace within his heart, let that man or let that nation trace the great white roots of peace to their single source in the being of the Great One, Eternal Spirit, whose presence lives within each beating heart. Let them take shelter beneath the long leaves of the flowering tree of peace. Let them live their lives in the shelter of these truths. For those who abide by these ways and principles will be upheld and cared for. Their families will prosper and become a blessing to their tribes, to the four-footed, to the winged, and to the people of every nation they encounter. Let it be known around your council fires that leadership is necessary to tribal undertakings, for it draws together the power and the unity of the nation. but henceforth let your leadership be determined with the cycles of the seasons. Let the turnover among your chiefs and principals be as the turnover of fall leaves into the new leaves of spring. Since it is the custom of the Iroquois nations to have warriors and braves as their chiefs and leaders, and since this custom will not change until the great white storm has passed, let it be the women then of your tribe, who in the moon, when the first snow flies, gather to determine by a process of equal vote who are to be their principal chiefs and leaders for the coming season. At this there was an audible rumble of surprise. The concept of voting was not itself new. Fundamentally, that is how chiefs and leaders had always been determined. However, in the past, tribal voting seasons had always been informal affairs dominated by the most vocal of the men. The women had played indirect roles by helping to form the opinions of their brothers, husbands, and fathers, but it was not often that any but the stronger or more outspoken women influenced the process directly. To give women not only a role, but the central role in a more formalized and ritualistic process of voting was a new concept. It was welcomed in a spirit of goodwill that soon settled into a reverent deliberation. The next few days were spent finalizing the structure of the new League of Iroquois Nations. The Confederacy was divided into 3 bodies: the Mohawk, keepers of the eastern door, joined with the Seneca, keepers of the western door. To form one of these bodies, the Oneida joined with the Cayuga to form another in the middle. Both politically and geographically were the Onondaga, keepers of the central fire. If the 2 tribes of the one body agreed with the 2 tribes of the other on a decision, it was referred to the keepers of the central fire. If the Onondaga did not agree with the proposed action, it was referred back to the 4-tribe council for further deliberation. If the 4 tribes still agreed on the matter, it became official policy. On those occasions when there was a lack of agreement between the Mohawk-Seneca side of the council fire and the Oneida-Cayuga side of the council fire, the matter was referred to the fire keepers for a final decision. In the end, there was always agreement. During all deliberations, open debate was encouraged among all 50 of the tribal leaders, or sachems, 10 of whom were elected to represent the people of each of the 5 founding tribes. However, once a decision became the official policy of the League, the sachems made it a matter of strict honor to put aside their personal viewpoints and fully support the final decision. This principle of putting aside individual viewpoints and fully supporting the goals of the united body of nations, once they were established, was carefully adhered to throughout the early centuries of the Confederacy's existence. It was a sacred and respected component of Gayeneshakagawa, the great law of peace. Democracy was practiced among the Iroquois Confederacy for many centuries before it was modified and adapted by the troubled American colonists who had lost patience with British royalty. Though the practice had degenerated somewhat by the 18th century, there remained then, as there does to this day, in the heart of every Iroquois, a strong sense of the danger of leadership by entrenched vertical hierarchy. It is not surprising that a young colonial boy growing up in the forests of Virginia would become familiar with these ideas. Not surprising that Jefferson, Washington, Franklin, and Monroe came to think as they did. Though we were not often incarnate for more than a summer or winter or two in the Americans of colonial times, always we were there. From within every tree, from the blossoms of every flower, from the eyes of birds and children, we watched these colonists. It was we who gave our venison for their tables. We who influenced their dreams, and we, through Jefferson and others, assisted in the firm and resolute rejection of aristocracy on American soil. We maintained a strong and focused presence in the American colonies of those decades and assisted the newly United States in modeling much of their government after the Iroquois Confederacy. We helped them to establish a democracy that required the periodic replacement of leaders, the recognition of certain basic and inalienable rights of its citizens, and a three-way balance of power among its elected representatives. We knew that these former colonists were creating the context for the great melting pot that America was soon to become. We knew that they were creating the political structure that would guide the interaction of strategic representatives of the four races during the last and most crucial centuries before the advent of the new order of the ages. We did not return to our more general pursuits until the new government of the people, by the people, and for the people had been firmly established. The great white roots of peace, as they were perceived by the 5 nations of that now distant day, represented a deep and genuine understanding becoming firmly rooted in the consciousness of an historical people, an understanding that has never left America and never will, though it has become distorted during the recent 5-century storm. We invite all who are able to look back at this day when the flowering tree teachings were re-established in America. Those of you who can read such things in the records left in the electron spin of the leaves of trees that today grow in those same places. Those of you who can cast your minds back to read the records of this autumnal gathering on Onondaga shore, you sensitives, poets, we invite you to explore these times that we of the spirit world can only hint at in the short pages of this volume. What transpired there was in seed form what you are now experiencing as a global spiritual awakening. The winds of consciousness that blow through those at the leading edge of human thought in the late 20th century are the same winds that rippled the leaves upon the trees around Hiawatha as he spoke, the same winds that drew the smoke from the many little fires of that autumn council and brought them together in a single ascending spiral that to this day continues to bless the heavens of human awareness. The account that we offer in the leaves of this book gives but a pencil sketch of the events that occurred. Our words are but symbols, etchings, rough outlines. The reality behind them lives and breathes. You will find it in your heart. It is for you to bring to the world of today. The smoke that rose from those fires that once burned on the hills of upper New York State at the founding of the Iroquois League continues to rise today. It is rising in the awareness of decision makers in a United Nations, centered not far from where the tree of the Great Peace was first planted. It is rising as new ideas, new concepts, new insights into the nature of peace. Rising in states around the world whose boundaries are slowly melting, whose aristocrats are, one by one, stepping down and coming to sit quietly in the company of peers, among circles of friends, equals beneath the boughs of a new flowering tree. Many smell the smoke of our fires. Thought fires they are, kindled in love, burning for you, calling you home.